right, everybody. We are back again for another episode of The Coach's Compass, right? It's your boy, Coach Coop, my boy Jay, reporting live all the way over here from Europe. And again, remember, as always, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so we can continue to get cool guests on and continue to help this thing grow and have everybody learning from some of the top coaches in the industry, right? And again, we're back with another super important guest today. We got Laura Stark. Laura completed her college career as a 4-year track and field athlete and earned her BS in exercise science from Truman State University in May of 2015. Taking the tools she learned from her college career, internship, and various high-level coaches in the NFL, MLB, NHL, and sports performance field, she started Stark Strong Performance LLC in August of 2016. While continuing to learn under her mentor at the NFL level and hone in on speed development and injury prevention with NFL Combine, she developed the program to take the tools only seen at the pro level and share them with middle and high school age athletes. The Speed Enhancement Mentorship was founded in October of 2020 to not only share these high-level tools, but to also create a lifestyle change sustainable beyond our athletes' time with us. So Laura, welcome and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm super excited to be here, and I appreciate the invite, and I appreciate the long process getting up here.
Hey, we all know the technical issues happen. It's okay.
Yeah.
And what we've been doing, we've been peeping a lot of your work. Like I saw all the stuff that you're doing on Stark Strong Performance. Laura, what got you so it says you got started in the industry, like your mentorship, your internship and all that stuff you're learning on the NFL, MLB, NHL, people for the sports performance side. But what got Laura interested in wanting to do this?
Well, I think there was always an interest just in sports. You do that your whole life. So there was always the interest there. But what really heightened that, I think, was once I actually got into the field. So kind of a backstory. I ran track in college, as you said, and I always felt like there was something more. Unfortunately, my coach wasn't the best. Definitely wasn't the best at articulating things either. And so I was always asking, like, what can I do to get better at X, Y, and Z? And it was just kind of like we'll do it better type answer. It's like, well, yeah. So it was very frustrating to feel like I couldn't ask a question without thinking that maybe he thinks I'm challenging him or whatever. Like I couldn't get better because there was no room for questions and answers there. So when I finally got to a higher level, I was lucky to have so many amazing coaches that I trained under. Actually, Troy Jones, we just brought him up a minute ago before we even popped up on here. He's really the main coach that I attribute all of my knowledge to. So again, I had so many amazing ones. I learned so much. And then when I started training under Troy, I was like, oh my God, this is who I am, because it resonated more with me. But then also the way that he teaches his athletes, it started making so much more sense for me. So I'm like, okay, well, only if I had this as a college athlete, I could have done so much more. And then I realized what he's teaching, it's not just because we're working with NFL players. Like these tools can be taught to an 8-year-old. They can be taught to anyone. It's not complicated. You just need to have it. And unfortunately, I don't see that being spread to other people. You see a lot of work hard, let's hustle, let's do whatever. And it's like, okay, well, why don't we actually slow down and understand what are we looking for? What are we trying to make a change? Like, what's the point of the training session today as opposed to just like working hard? So that's really, I think, where I felt very compelled to continue pushing what I'm doing, is because I can see that I'm making a difference for all the kids who were like me, where they knew that there was something more, but they didn't really have answers or help to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky path to go down. I mean, like you got a lot of coaches out there, right? A lot of people that consider themselves good coaches and know what they're talking about. But it's hard to find people that actually know exactly what they're talking about and how to break it down to an 8-year-old, right? Because because we've been at high levels, right? You've been at a high level in college. What was your first step, like kind of into the industry that like kind of brought you to the place that you're at now?
Actually, I would say I might not agree with that. I think it's really easy to teach an 8-year-old because, like,
Well, I agree with you. I think
yeah,
it is.
they can get better at everything.
Right.
As opposed to like the NFL players, like, I'm not here. They did good, like they're good. They've been doing really well. And so I feel like a lot of that work is like, let's sharpen for the small off season they have. Let's give the body a little bit of chaos training so that once they get into the game, which is a very chaotic game, like their body's ready for that. I don't necessarily feel like it's always about getting better, more athletic, more whatever at that point. It's about how can we elongate your career. So now bring it back to an 8-year-old or even a 15-year-old. Just by age alone, they have so much room for improvement. They have so much room for all of that. So I think I disagree a little bit there. And now I actually forgot the question that you asked.
It's a super important question, and like in a way, the way you talk about it, because I mean, the way I said it's easy to train an elite guy because so we're over here in Europe, right? So
Right.
it's very easy to come over here and kind of remember what you've done back in the States, working with
Right.
elite people that kind of understand how to already run, because most athletes in the States play multiple sports. Now, when you come to Europe, it's all kind of like you play one sport. Like, so you go soccer, you do basketball, you do football, you do handball, or you do hockey. And then breaking it down in a way that an 8-year-old understands, like you would think would be very simple, right? To us, like it's simple because you had to start at that point to be able to build your way up to work with the elite guys.
Yeah.
Now, when you come from America and then you only work with elite, remembering how to work with the 8-year-olds again is kind of the tougher part. So I think that's where we
Okay.
agree. We agree on the same thing. It's just the
I think
way that
we come from two different situations where I think we've seen a lot of the people that have worked at like the elite levels, and they come here, and then I guess the talent level is a little bit different here, and they're not as multi faceted with regards to like athletic potential and athletic ability and like just like movement. And you have guys that come here and they don't throw these kids into the most complex of drills, but sometimes they just expect kids to be able to do at least the basic like opposite arm, opposite knee. But like we run into I had that problem here when I came here where it's just like, do you not understand that it's left, like, opposite arm, opposite knee? So it's like, okay. Yeah, and there's some coaches that are challenged by that. So that's kind of where Coop's coming from. And I think that's probably like the one big thing, like with Europe, where a lot of guys come in and they're just like, oh shit, like, okay, now I've got to.
Yeah, well, that goes back to understanding what's the goal of the session. And a goal with an 8-year-old is different than a goal of a session with a 15-year-old, than a goal of a pro athlete. So let's take the 8-year-old. They probably don't know how to hinge. So do I care if they're the best hingers in the world? Not really. But isn't it an important movement for when someday they're thrown in the weight room and they're expected to do these movements? Yes, they need to learn how to hinge. They need to learn how to, retract their shoulders. They need to learn how to use their body. And I think that coaches sometimes get exciting because that's not sexy training, right? Like
No,
standing
yeah.
around and hinging or retracting. That's not fun and exciting. So you get excited because you want to do the hard things. Or I think there's a little bit of peer pressure that coaches could feel from like parents sometimes, like, oh, I want my kid to be tired. Like, is that the goal? I'm not your babysitter. I'm not here to tire them out. I'm here to actually get them to be better movers. So it comes back to understanding what are you trying to accomplish in that session, and then meeting them where they're at. Because again, with an 8-year-old, I don't need them to understand everything the way I need a 15-year-old to understand things, or a pro athlete to understand things. And that's okay, because an 8-year-old needs to see a little bit more fun in it. I mean, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but how many of these 8-year-olds are going to be playing in high school, in college, at pro?
Yeah.
Let them have fun. Let them learn to move. Let's do everything we can to get them better, but really it's setting them up so that by the time they get in high school, they can have a different level of training. In college, a different level of training, whatever that looks like.
So then how are you setting up and also getting parents to buy in? And when you're working with an 8-year-old compared to a 15-year-old, and then, a college or a pro athlete, setting up, the workouts and whatnot to get them to have fun, but still understand that they're getting better at certain things. But then also the parents, like, hey, like, I'm not here to make them, because we all have the parents that come to us like, hey, like, I'm not just here to babysit them, and I'm not here to just like gas them and make them throw up. Like, every workout is not like, you're not here to do that. Like, there's no benefit of that. So how do you get parents to understand that, and also get your 8-year-olds all the way, like, you're setting them up for future? How do you?
Right. I actually feel quite grateful that I don't feel like I ever have to explain that to someone. Like, I
That's
kind of
good.
just attract the right people. Like, the people come to me because I'm doing the slow work, and I think I know how to articulate it well enough that, if you want to come to me to get fit or to get tired or to get whatever, like, I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass either. Like, we're just not going to be a good fit. And that's okay. So I actually do things a little bit different. Everything we do now is online. So I don't work with 8-year-olds because I don't think that this is the best platform for them. I think that they can go train in a different way. I have some college athletes, but I find that like the college and pros, what I have is probably not the best for them typically, just because of the resources that they have. So college I get more of, but just ever since I switched to online, it's not the best. It's not necessarily who I target. Now, so that middle and high school age group is really like who I'm working with now. And I feel that I'm super valuable there because they don't have those resources, because they need some of it. So we actually have a pretty extensive call. I'm talking to everyone pretty in depth. And anyone who signs up for my program has already talked to me, already knows what's going on, already has a feel for what we do, how we help people, who we help. And they're not going to pay for their kid to be in a 12-week program because I'm not doing single sessions. It's a full program. They're not going to let their kid join this if they don't see the value. And at that point, there's a level of trust already. So I really don't feel like I run into that issue. And if I do, it's so early in the process that maybe we talked for 5 minutes and we just went our own way and we forget each other.
And then how was the switch? Going from working in person to now being all online. Like how did that switch happen, and how did it flow?
Yeah, I would say COVID, right? 2020 brought up
Yeah.
some challenges. Pre-2020, I actually had a view. I was like, I'm good at what I do, and I really want to be able to help athletes who aren't here at this time, at this place, and I wanted a broader view. So I always had that, and I really didn't know how to accomplish that. And then 2020 hit, and we moved to a park, and then we moved to another park, and it was just like every day was something different. And I started doing really well just because these kids had everything pulled from them. We were able to just go outside, have our own space, and they didn't have anything going on. So I started doing really well. So I had in mind like, oh, I should get online because nobody knows what tomorrow looks like. But I couldn't because I was so busy being in person. But as 2020 went on, probably around like August, September, like school started back. We're trying to figure out what life looks like. That's when I was like, okay, let me make this little move. And it worked out really well. It was just very organic. I love it for a couple reasons. And eventually I was able to move completely online. Although I miss, right, like the pro, like working with pro athletes, working NFL combine, that's my favorite. It's so fun. But I miss that. But I feel like I'm doing more, and I'm also able to live a more flexible life for myself, which is really nice. But as far as transitioning into this, why we stayed here was because we started finding that we were able to give our athletes more. So instead of like squeezing everything into an hour here and an hour there, the workouts are important, but then it didn't really give us time for the education to sit down, to go over video analysis, to make sure that they're doing things like creating goals or understanding how to make their own. I'm not expecting them to be great programmers, but like, can you make your own program? Can you make your own workout without a coach holding your hand? I want to give you those tools, and I just can't in an hour session here and there. So I'm really happy with where it's come, and it means, I give up some of the little kids, I give up some of like the college and pro, which I do miss that. For like what we're doing and how impactful we are, I feel like it's definitely been worth it. And then again, the lifestyle just being a little bit more flexible. I think that's something that a lot of people in this industry don't find.
No, not at all. I mean,
What is that?
especially
Sorry, what does that education process look like for you with with your athletes? Because I feel like that's something that I feel like a lot of people have been trying to do on Instagram, especially me for a case where it's just like not so. You obviously don't want to make the information too complex to where
Right.
you're speaking to a coach, but you kind of want to simplify it to where an athlete can understand it. Because there
Right.
obviously are these cases where these athletes are probably going to be on their own for the most part, and a lot of guys you see just go into the gym and have no idea what they're doing. They'll just grab a dumbbell, grab a barbell, and do
Hmm.
whatever. But so what does that education look like for having these athletes being able to take accountability?
Yeah, part of the onboarding process is they actually get the education packet, which is probably like a 30-page slide of things, of whether it's even just like the terms I use, because one person's going to say knee drive and I'm going to say hip lift. And I mean hip lift
Yeah.
because it's a little bit more specific, but like a lot of this stuff doesn't really matter, but it does matter when I'm coaching you because you need to understand what I'm saying to you. So we start with the education packet. I don't need them to memorize everything, but before day one, they're required to send in a video. And actually, the first video is just an A run. It's very simple. But now we're just getting our feet wet into how this is going to work. You send in a video, and instead of us being like, okay, cool, you did this good, you did this bad, I'm like, okay, Jay, you know, every time you send in a video, coach so and so and I are going to ask for your analysis first. So let's start with, what are the 4 pillars of running and what does each one mean? And so you have to go back in, and part of that homework was to go look at the 4 pillars of running and give me an analysis back. Is it the perfect one there? No, because for example, projecting your hips is part of running. I need you going forward, where an A run is a very vertical drill. So like that's not going to be included there, but you just have to get your feet wet. You have to know what is hip projection. You have to know how to look for it so that on day one, when you actually sprint, now we can look, are you projecting your hips? So it starts like at a little bit at a time, and we're always sending them back. So now you send in a video of your deceleration. It's like, okay, well, what are we looking for in deceleration? Not just is this good or bad, but what are we actually looking for? Where are your hips? Where's your foot? Where's your knee? Like, let's look at these things so that you can start understanding. But whether it's just, like the vocab I learned, like dorsiflex, movement at the ankle, that's something that we talk about all the time. I probably learned that in, I don't know, college, but I need my 10-year-olds knowing what dorsiflex means because we're going to talk about dorsiflexing a lot. So just getting on the same page, it's a gradual process. Do they need to be perfect at it? No. I just want them having an understanding so that we're making the most of our time together, but then also they can continue analyzing at a higher level when I'm not there to hold their hand.
No, yeah, I think that's critical, especially in the athlete space now, where it's like you have a lot of coaches that are just like saying bullshit. So it's like for these athletes to be educated and know, like you're running into a coach that has no idea what he's talking about, because I was working with Laura Stark and she taught me about dorsiflexion and what my deceleration should look like. It's just like, okay, I can't work with Laura anymore because of my situation, but I definitely know this coach may not be for me because she's educated me. And that's all. That's huge.
Totally.
But
Totally.
also, how do you get these? Like, you're talking about middle school. You're talking about a 10-year-old, right? And
Yeah.
then some high school kids to do homework outside of their already homework, and get them to like pay attention to like the minor details and stuff that like yeah, you definitely get to ask me that like in college or high school, and I wouldn't have known what you were talking about. Like you're now teaching people that are these young athletes way before time. How are you getting them to like fully fall into the process and fall in love with it?
I think that actually the biggest part of that is treating people like they're humans. And you see that a lot, especially in youth, especially in football, right? Like there's like mental toughness, whatever that means. Like you just like trying to get everyone tough, or like this is teaching them life lessons. Like, yeah, but also like they're a human and you get to talk to them and treat them like they're a person. And I think that outlook is going to take me a lot further in life, let alone coaching, than a lot of people. So when you empower these kids, they want to know, they want to learn these things. Not everyone, but those people aren't with me, which is fine. You're again meeting people where they're at. But these kids want to do well, they want to please you. And so when you give them the tools to empower themselves and guide them on the conversation, I don't expect anyone to know what I'm talking about day one. That's why we help guide them. But you can ask questions and get the answer that you want every single time, and they feel like they came up with it or they knew it or they whatever. And that's what teaches them. Now they do know it. And they're going to have a lot more skin in the game so that they trust their own process. It's not even like trusting me. It's like they're trusting themselves, and then they start seeing results, or they start feeling more confident, or they start feeling in less pain. And it's like, well, then that has to. I don't need to tell them to trust me. I don't need to tell them to buy in, because that's not going to work.
Right. And then so with you being majority on or everything online, are you working with more individuals or like teams or the whole school, or how's that working for you, and how's it been to navigate that?
Most of it has been individuals, I am looking to do more team group stuff, and I have a little bit, whether it's like a partnership with a combine, but I don't get to give them as much as me. Like when I'm giving someone like all of what we have, it's typically that one-on-one 12-week mentorship. So we're branching out a little bit. I would like to do more team group stuff. Might not be as specific, but also when you're coaching 60 kids, 5 of
Yeah.
those want to learn what dorsiflex means. And those are the ones who actually stick around afterwards and they ask questions and they learn what dorsiflex or whatever. We just keep going back to that word, but like they learn more stuff where when you're coaching 60 kids, it's just going to be a little bit different. And that's the nature of it.
When, like, so with working with individuals,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you get them on this online platform and you're teaching them all this stuff, right? Is there any like time that you feel like a real struggle in there? I mean, obviously you vet through people and you're figuring out who really wants to stay, but like what are some of the struggles you see with working online?
I think the vetting process goes a really long ways. It really, I think, takes away a lot of the pains that I could have felt if I didn't do it. So I don't know what the biggest problems would have been, luckily, but you're always going to have some hiccups. I think our worst case ever, we brought a girl on. This was a couple years ago, and the next day she got a concussion, and it turned out to be like a really big 9 month process, and so. It was just like us checking in with her for 9 months. We can't let her move. We can't let her do anything yet. So there's always going to be things like that that's out of everyone's control. That turned out to just not be an issue, really. I mean, besides the 9 month waiting period, like it wasn't that big of an issue besides that. Obviously, would never want her to have to go through that, but that took a little bit of time. And then there's always going to be some kids who like could do a little bit more. Like you see that I want a little bit more out of you. Figuring out how to empower them to feel like this is their thing. That's the important part. Again, I can't tell them over and over to do better. I want more out of you. They have to want it. It's not about
Right.
what I want, what the parents want. It's the kid has to want to.
But
Exactly.
you also said that you miss, college and combine training. Will we see you back in that soon?
I do. I don't know what that looks like. So I do like high school combines now, which is really fun. But I feel the reason that it's so valuable, because NFL combine training is so different than a 1 day combine for high school, so it's
Yeah.
different.
Yes.
It allows me to get my feet like back in the little like football combine. Because I football is actually my favorite sport to train typically. I
Really?
think it's really fun. I think part of like being in the full NFL combine training, college stuff, you have to have more time to dedicate to that. And I'm not sure where I'm at that's what I have or what I want to prioritize. When I can do it here and there, that's great, but I'm not sure. And so now with these high school combines, it allows me to do something. And what I feel like is really valuable is the difference is these kids come to combines and they're laser tested for the first time. They walk away with some hurt feelings. They know that they need to get better at X, Y, and Z, but now no one says how to actually get better at it. So I'm giving them a smaller program. It's not working with us one-on-one, but I'm giving them a 12-week program to walk away. Here are all the steps. This is how you accelerate. This is how you cross over. This is how you 5-10-5. All the things that you need for a combine program, they get to walk away with. So now the kids are winning because they actually have a how do I get better at that? I think that the combine's winning because that separates them from other combine companies. And then, I win. I get back in the game. I'm in front of more people. So I feel like that's a really good spot to be that I want to continue growing.
With that packet that you're sending them away with, is it like, does it have full video breakdown and everything too? I mean, because I know the combine drills are tough. They're
Right.
technical. They come with a lot of pieces in it. A lot of people think you just line up and run, or you just do a 5-10-5 and then you do an L drill, and then you'll find out. If you continue to do it over and over again, you'll just get better times. Like no, like there's so many details in the breakdown of the thing. Like the 5-10-5 can be broken down into like 4 to 5 pieces. The L drill can be broken down into 4 to 5 pieces. Like your
Right.
things that you can
Literally.
break down, but people just think you just line up and do it.
Yeah, I see 50% of their kids put their foot on the line at the 40. So now their shin angle is straight up and down, so they don't have acceleration. And so literally starting at how do we set up to accelerate out? How do we set up in a 3-point stance? That's where I have to start. So it's another online program. It's different than the one-on-one, but they log on and then it's like course format so they can go through and they can they can look. I have it broken into like, here are some of my favorites if we're trying to accelerate. Here's the 40. Here's some of my favorites for, crossover, L drill, 5, 10, 5. But then also I think it's actually 6 weeks for the combine. Like 6 weeks, this is what you need to do week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's dope. I mean, not many people are doing that, and especially for a lot of my European athletes, like if they have the opportunity, I would definitely tell them push them your direction, right? Because they need this 6-week program. Because I mean, Jay and I can only do so much. We go to camps and we see the same issues you see, right? But we're getting guys that are, I would say at the college level, because most guys over here don't start playing till about 15, 16, 17, and then they're sent to these camps and they're doing these drills and whatnot, and they have never seen them before, right? Or they've seen YouTube, or they've seen the NFL Combine, and they got to remember, NFL Combine is the elite of the elite. Even guys that go to that have bad days, and maybe not have been with the best trainer. Usually, most of the time they are, but you know what I mean. Like you go in and not all the drills are run right, but you're seeing the full thing, not the whole breakdown. So I think it's awesome what you're doing. On top of that, though, how has it been, and what have been some of the biggest challenges you have seen being in this industry? Now, you talk about you have NFL, MLB, NHL, like mentors and people that you've worked under with internships and stuff, but now you're on your own journey and your own path. Now, if we look at the industry, right, I would say it's pretty male dominant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what you're doing is highly successful. So kudos to you, but how did you,
Thank you.
What are some challenges that you're seeing and facing, and how have you been able to find your path?
Thank you. Yeah, it is a male dominated field. I don't feel like that holds me back. I think I actually see like the benefit, because I know that females are needed, but I think that it's starting to become a more well-known thing, and not just like, yeah, we need a girl to coach girls basketball or girls volleyball. Like, no, we need women in football. We need women here. We need women that, like, it's something that's looked for. And I think that I actually have a lot of people come to me, especially with their young daughters. They're like, who specifically say, yes, I like your coaching, I like your XYZ, but I also like that you're female. And I want my daughter to have a female role model. So it's cool to be able to do that, because there are a lot of young girls who want a female coach. But again, even going back to football, it's important to have females in football. And I'll step out on those combine fields, and the only female, maybe the only white person, like a foot shorter than everybody. But it's important to have a little bit of everything there, and you see it in the kids. I can't think of one time I've been on a combine field where a kid doesn't go, yes, sir, and then gets really awkward because they're so used to that. Like, that's just what football says. And so, like, I'm always going to be called yes, sir. They're always going to be embarrassed as soon as they say it. That's fine. But you have that in there, and they learn to be coached from a female. They learn to talk a little bit differently. All of those things are really important from a social standpoint, but also I think just every standpoint. I know that there are always going to be some people who are going to, like, she doesn't know how to play football. And I didn't play football. I leave football to the people who know how to play football. But I'm good at what I do. And so there's always going to be people who might doubt me because I'm female, or I'm 5'2", or whatever it is. And that's okay, because they're not going to learn from me, so they're not the ones I'm going to try to teach. I want to try to teach the people who want to learn from me.
Right, you're not out there to teach football. You do combine training, strength and conditioning, right?
Right.
Like, yes, those are parts in football to make them better football players, but the football is for their football coaches, right?
Right.
So who cares about that other part, as long as you know what you're talking about, right? And obviously your work goes to show, and even the people that you've learned under, right? Because you've taken pieces from them and implemented it into your own stuff, but obviously it's still made your own work. How are you staying up to date with everything and the nuances in the industry, and the new equipment that everybody's using, new lasers, all this stuff? Like, how are you staying up to date, and who are you learning from to keep yourself updated?
Yeah, that's something I could certainly do better at. I have my favorite people that I follow or that I talk to. I think that there is a lot of stuff that you should stay up to date on, and I could do better. But I also feel like sometimes we can't obsess with the fancy things, and sometimes we have to, like, come back and remember this is also a people business. And so I have room for improvement, no doubt. I could be using, more up-to-date methods or whatever, but I'm seeing the results that I'm getting, and I'm learning that like teaching them and treating them as humans is something that's invaluable and not going to change.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Right. That's why change something if it's been working for you? I mean, obviously you can add in new wrinkles and stuff, but
right.
at the same time, like you're seeing the results. Like the numbers don't lie. There's a reason they are the way they are. Could you share like a story with us where you felt like was probably one of your most rewarding experiences in this industry?
What's one of my most rewarding experiences? I think that you have like the NFL stuff because it's just so fun, right? Like you're training
Right.
big names. It's like people get excited about the big names or the things that you're doing, or you're watching TV and you're like, I trained that guy. Like he's so cool. I really love him as a human, as opposed to just like people tend to be like professional football players. They're a god. They're not a person. It's like, no, he's a person. He's really cool. So that's always fun, and just the building relationships all over. I value that. But I actually really value the role that I have in youth athletes. And, maybe they'll go to college, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll go pro at whatever level. Probably they won't. But I
It's
really,
real. It's real
it's
reality.
real. It's real. And then you find, even like some of these smaller sports, it's like, sure, like all these female soccer players could go play pro, but is it realistic? You have to go make money. You're 22. Like, yeah, you can make the team, but it's not really doing much as far as like next steps in life. So, there's always opportunities, and some people could, and some people are okay being done as well. So, anyways, just being more valuable and building the relationships, and I feel like helping these kids at a level that I don't see the help being is that makes me really proud as I like look back and see where I started and where I came to, and I hope to continue looking back all the time and being like, whoa, how did that all come together?
Right, because it has. It's been falling. The pieces have been falling together and everything. How
Mm-hmm.
did you learn the business side of this industry? Because I think that's a huge part that a lot of
Mm-hmm.
us coaches are struggling at, because we feel like we have a great product, that we have all this knowledge to share, and we can help so many athletes, but there's also a huge business side of it, of like, how do you even start your LLC? How do you even get out there and market yourself?
Right.
How do you run payroll? And how do you start a mentorship and run these online courses? How do you get invited to camps? Like there's so many
Right.
different ways like for this business to go, but how did you learn it, and how are you managing it to be effective now?
It's been an 8-year process, and I'm still learning so much. I'm not at trade by trade. Business wasn't my thing. It just kind of became more of a thing, and I enjoy it actually quite a bit. But at first you just learn how to do an LLC, and then you do everything under the table. So it's like, all right, well, that's not going to work because I need to be a human. I need to like show, 3 years of taxes. I need to show whatever. So then you learn the next step, and that's not necessarily what I would suggest for people. As I got started, it was very small because I never wanted to be a business owner. I never wanted to start it. It was very intimidating to me. But then you just get in and you start and you learn. Then as far as getting online, actually when that time came, I did hire a mentor. And I dropped, I think it was $7,000 at the time.
The hurt, the pain.
Yeah, it was something that has made me so much more. It was an investment, right? So I was willing to go like, let's go put this money in because I want to go learn to be better at all of those things because I'm not. And all my mentors are good coaches. They're not really good business people. So I had to go learn things, whether it was, just getting online and what do I do and what do I need to do. But then also, right, like my last CPA, actually just recently, the last CPA I had took care of payroll. So I never knew how to do payroll until I moved on from him maybe in August or so. And now I'm learning how to do payroll. And then all of a sudden there's all these other, like, I get a letter from the IRS saying I didn't file my sales and use tax. Like, got to go learn how to do that. So it's still a process. I'm still learning how to do everything because you make changes, and I don't care to be the best I'm going to have a new CPA. I need them to take care of tax stuff. That's not what I care to be the best at. I need to understand a little bit, but it's always a process, and I'm not afraid to invest in people when it makes sense and when I need to get better, but I'm also not afraid to hire out and let my CPA take care of whatever.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, a lot of coaches try to do it all, right? But there's only
Right.
so many hours in a day, and like where you allocate like your attention to. So if you're so
Right.
worried about your CPA stuff and all your taxes and everything,
Right.
it takes away time from you programming and worrying about your athletes. And
Right.
then you have something else that happens, and new people trying to come in. There's a whole bunch of things going on.
Right.
Right.
And now I get a letter from the IRS and I say, what are they talking about? I don't want
Oh,
to,
I don't even
you
know.
help
Actually,
me.
I didn't receive
Yeah,
that.
don't do that. They send you more and more letters.
Listen, when the IRS want their money, they will come find you. Yeah.
It's for like $100. Like, am I hurting you?
Could be for
Really?
two and try to come find you.
I'll pay you $20. That's fine.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
going on?
Just tell me what I did. I'll pay it. We'll just move on to the next thing. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Can you take us through a time that you faced like a very significant setback or a failure, and then how you overcame it, like being in this industry?
Hmm. I I feel like that's kind of life, right? There's going to be ups and downs. And I kind of feel like I'm in like this right now, actually. Especially being your own business owner, and I would say my strength is not necessarily like the marketing and the outreach, and so that's something that I
What do you mean
sometimes feel.
your Instagram is booming? I've
Well,
seen your videos. Like the stuff that you're doing out there is popping. I mean, it's good work. So that
thank you.
marketing right there should be enough.
I appreciate it. It's not doing what I want it to do or what I expect it to do. So there's always times, and you have to go back and look at like, okay, well, what's the next step? Is it hiring a marketing person? Is it uh, doing your own marketing? Is it what do you need to change? Or also like, what in the process do you need to change so that you're also being authentic to who you are right now? Because I'm not the same person I was a year ago or 5 years ago. I'm continuing to evolve and change. So there's always going to be some hard times, but I think one of the biggest things I went through pretty hard 6 months. It's been a hard year, and not even talking business, but when it's been a hard year, it just translates over to everything.
Everything with everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Right. So because of that, you have to give yourself a little bit more grace. And I think that people are going to be really hard on themselves. So although maybe I'm not where I want in all these different categories of life, including business, and like, okay, well, look at what just happened. And you need to be kind to yourself and give yourself a little grace. And so now that you're getting through that, let's get your feet back down. Let's think about, what's the next step? Like, take a little action here, take a little action there. And maybe it doesn't end in results right away, but it's getting you where you need to be. So I think that people need to be more gracious with themselves. People need to learn how to love themselves even when they're down. That's something that I'm continuing to learn. And like, it's not the last hard time I'm gonna have in my life. There's gonna be more,
No.
but you gotta get through it, and you gotta give yourself the space to heal from whatever you're going through, so that you can get back up and do better.
Well, you're 6 months into the year. Now we're on a whole new month now, so 6 months left to go. I guess it all
Right?
depends on how you finish it out, right? Do you let the first 6 months determine your whole year, or do you
No,
change it all
certainly
around?
not.
So then if we look at that, what would be, if you look at 15, 16-year-old Laura, what would be your best advice that you would give to her now?
15, 16-year-old Laura. So I think, kind of going off of what I just said, it's like being a little bit more gracious with yourself. You are a hard worker. You are successful. You do all these things. Like, you're always going to go figure it out, but you do need to like love yourself in the process. And you don't always do that. So I think that that's kind of my advice for everyone. And I touched on this earlier, where I felt like, coaches especially, but I know I would say even the United States, you might actually have some good insight on that now that you're over in Europe. But I think like the hustle mentality and the do more mentality here is really toxic. And you grow up an athlete and a business owner and you have all these things, and so you're this hustle mentality, and then you realize that like, actually, I think life is more important when you slow down, and there are other things that matter. And although I do want a successful business and I want to keep helping these kids and I see the value that we're adding, I am not defined by that. And so slowing down and realizing like, hey, what do you want out of life? And I think I'm very fortunate that I love what I do. But I also don't think that everyone needs to love what they do. They just need to love their life. And if the way that they make money, they don't love it, then that's okay. Are they happy enough through the process? Are they, fulfilled in other areas? And that's okay.
Yeah, it's a completely different lifestyle over here. So I'll say
Yeah.
you know, because our first year over here was in 2017. Yeah, first year was 2017. And I came over with the American mindset of
Yeah.
just hustle, 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 go, go, go. Don't slow down. Like
Right.
keep on pushing. Like keep the gas on, put the
Right.
pedal down and just go. But it's not like that over here. They enjoy life. So when they clock in at 9 and they clock out at 5, there is no thought about work after 5 o'clock. It's
Oh,
life,
well, they
right?
also took that hour break or whatever, 2 hour break to
That's
go
in
home and have
so
lunch.
Spain has a siesta, but
Okay.
you know, like over here they have the longer vacations. They have free healthcare.
Right.
College is free.
Right.
Work hours aren't as long. Like there's higher pay, so you can actually live life. You have so much long vacation. Like long,
Right.
you have sick days that you like that are, you're able to use and not worry about losing your job. Like there's so many things that are different over here that, you know, I think allow people in Europe, and I don't know anywhere else in the world. I know Europe,
Yeah.
allow them to actually like enjoy the life and enjoy the things that they work hard for.
Yeah.
And I think the flip side on it though is like when it comes to sports, it doesn't always correlate because we still
No.
have that same mindset of like go go go, like hustle hustle hustle, because we're trying to get to that next level. And
Right.
it's not to say that they don't have it in like soccer or basketball stuff, but we talk about American football. It's not the same over here.
Right.
Like I said, they have free college. So like a guy like myself that coming from the States, I needed football to go to college. There was no other
Right.
way for me.
To get out
So,
the streets. There's a lot of
yeah,
kids who need to get out of where they're from, and college
exactly.
is their ticket out.
And
Yeah.
then that's my option to go pro. You know what I mean? To earn money, to help my family
Yeah.
get to the next level, like get somewhere
Yeah.
else to be more secure. So I think the two sides, like they always butt heads.
Right.
And I think with us Americans being over here is finding that balance on like, and then how to relate to these guys too, which I think is
Yeah.
a super fun thing about being from America and then coming over here and then you take time to kind of sit back. And I was hard at it first because when I first came over here, it was like, nah, like this isn't how you play football. This isn't how you work out. Like you're supposed to do it this way.
Right.
No, like I don't work out 5 times a week and run 5 times a week. And I was like, okay, I got to find a way to like relate to these guys, to get them
Right.
to understand, to be able to play at a high level, but tailor myself back. You know what I mean? So
Right.
they can meet me halfway and then we can start working from there. And
Right.
then, you know, like you said, I think enjoying life, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, enjoying what I do. And I think it didn't happen until about 3-4 years ago, I can honestly say, when I came back to Europe and was sitting here and like, man, I got to start enjoying the things that I worked so hard for. Because
Right.
I was over here doing the same things I would do in America, right? Wake up at 4
Right.
o'clock in the morning, work from 5 to whenever, and then
Yeah.
probably work would never end, and never enjoy like all the money that I earned, and never travel or anything like that. I was like, you know what? Let me enjoy this. All right.
Yeah.
So it started leading me down the path of, you know, finding what you're saying, talking about life. But if we look at the future for Laura, what does it hold, and what are the aspirations, and where are we heading in this big picture?
Yeah. You know, the future, kind of like I said earlier, I look back and I always had this like very broad, vague idea of like, I want to help more people than just who can meet me. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then it comes. And I think that's, important, is like not obsessing over how it's going to work, but like just keep taking little actions. So right now I feel like I'm in a little bit of a transition period where I'm going to be doing some bigger things. And I don't know exactly what that looks like, and I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but I know I'm taking little steps. I'm talking to other people. I'm just opening whatever doors, seeing what comes the way, throw the bait out, see what hooks. So I don't know what 6 months looks like. I don't know what a year looks like. I don't know what 5 years looks like, but I can feel that things are transitioning a little bit. And that doesn't mean that I'm going away from the one-on-one. It doesn't mean I'm going away from anything we've talked about. It just feels like we're broadening a little bit. And that makes me excited. So again, I don't know what that looks like, but I'm excited for it.
You heard it here first. The transition is happening, guys. Right?
It's
It's in the
happening.
works. It's happening here, and I'm excited to see the whole journey. Like we just recently started following you, but obviously scrolled all the way back to look at some of your former work, and then looking at where you're at now. It's like you said, you're not doing what you were doing before, right? You're a whole
No.
new person. So excited to see what 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, what it leads to. Hopefully
Thank you.
one day we'll see you in Europe and helping us over here coaching a little bit too, and bring you over for a
Right,
camp
we
or
can have
something.
this conversation for
You're
sure.
right.
We
But
can
Laura,
certainly have that.
before we get out of here, we got our 90-second round. It's one word answers. Didn't prepare you for this. Caught you off
Okay, let's
guard.
go.
All
What are we
right,
doing?
We got 90 seconds, one-word answers. It's random questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Is it
Here
like
we
a
go.
yes or no, or just like a blue?
It could be blue. It could be red. It could be
Whatever. Let's
protein
go.
shake. It could be whatever.
Shake. All right.
Are you ready?
Do I have to rapid fire it, or do I get to think?
You can think a little bit, but not too much.
Okay. Not
All
too
right.
much.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Favorite post-workout snack?
Overnight oats.
Favorite NFL team?
Seahawks.
Best concert you've ever been to?
J. Cole.
Pizza or burger?
Oh my gosh, it depends. The quality is what changes, right? I want good pizza over a bad burger.
You can't choose both. You got to choose one.
But it has to have
vacation
truffle
spot.
fries.
Okay.
And truffle fries.
Okay. Dream
There we
vacation spot.
Back to South Africa for safari.
Fastest athlete you've ever trained?
I worked with an Olympic sprinter one time, but that was like a very short time. I don't even remember his name. I'm so bad for that.
Your
That
favorite
guy. Sprinting.
Which do you prefer, a good sprint session or a heavy lift session?
Sprint.
Best coach in the industry?
Troy Jones.
What is your number one flaw as a coach?
Oh, don't think too hard. My God, that one got me. What's my number one flaw? From my own point of view or from other point of views, right?
Your
From
point of
my
view.
point of view, what's my number one flaw? Is I could be more up to date on things. I could do more research.
Okay, last one. Would you rather the ability to speak and understand any language fluently or be able to play any musical instrument masterfully?
Language for sure.
There it is, Laura.
Fun. We're done? Let's do more. That was fun.
I wish I had more. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. All right. But Laura, we appreciate you being here with us today. Thank you for taking time out. So much knowledge dropped in here today. Love everything that you're doing. Continue to do all the hard work, and we can't wait to see where you are 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years from now.
You got
If
it.
you guys got the opportunity to look up Laura Stark. She's over there at Stark Strong Performance. And if you guys need help with that combine training, which a lot of you do, a lot of my listeners do, please reach out to her because she's got a 6-week program that's running, and it's awesome.
I appreciate it so much, Coop. I had a great time.
Thank you, and we're out.